So similar to our previous video regarding what are the best assault rifles, this video is going to go over what are the best SMGs. So we've got a list of them right here. The C9, the KSV, the Tanto 22, the PP 919, the Jackal PDW, and the Compact 92. So the first thing we want to do is test out the recoil. So we're starting off with the C9. We'll see what the recoil pattern actually looks like first of all. So it's mainly straight up, but does go slightly to the left, and it does have a bit of side-to-side shake as well. We'll try and control it a bit. As you can see, it's a bit difficult to control. We'll try that again one more time as well. See if we can try and control it a bit better this time. But with SMGs, they're not needing to be super easy to control in the first place because they're going to be pretty much used at point blank range. Next up, we've got the KSV, which we're going to take a look at the recoil pattern right now. So again, it's got a bit of a wiggle right there. As you can see, it goes up and then to the right. So we can try and control this one as well. A little bit easier after the first couple of shots than the C9, to be honest. When it comes to controlling the recoil, it is a little bit easier, but it does kind of shoot off a little bit. Next up, we've got the Tanto SMG, which is probably one of the more popular ones right now. Unsure why, because the fire rate is a lot slower than some of the other ones, and usually slow fire rate SMGs are not the best choice. But as you can see, the recoil is a little bit easier to manage than the rest, so maybe that's why it's so popular. So it is a little bit easier to manage for the most part. Now, obviously, attachments will help all of these guns in general, but for the most part, this one is the easiest to manage so far. As you can see here, it is relatively easy to manage, and the iron sights are really clean too, actually. I like to mention that. Next up, we've got the PP 919, and we'll look at the recoil here. So the recoil patterns on the SMGs seem to be really strange. They do have like a lot of S-curves going on. I don't know if that's purposely done because they're going to have like good TTKs, but we'll get into that in a moment. But controlling this gun is a little bit... it's all over the place, to be honest. After the first few shots and after we get past that S-curve, it's very easy. But up until that point, it's quite difficult. Now, obviously, you need to be using these guns at point blank range. And you can definitely control it. Next up, we've got the Jackal PDW, which is the one that we got in the beta. And this one seems to be the easiest one, as you can see here with the recoil. And still has a little bit of shake from side to side. But when it comes to the actual recoil for the most part, it is definitely one of the easier ones to control for sure. So as you can see here, a lot easier than some of the other guns. And last but not least, we've got the Compact 92, which definitely has the fastest fire rate for a fact, but also one of the smaller mag sizes. And try to control this one. It's not that bad actually, to be honest. You can definitely control this gun with a couple of attachments, maybe a bigger mag as well. Kind of reminds me a bit of the AS Val inside the assault rifle category. It fires just really quickly. So moving on into the True Game Data website now, we're going to take a look at TTKs, and as much as recoil is somewhat important for SMGs, there's other stats that are way more important, and TTK is definitely the king. So when it comes to chest shot TTKs at 100 HP, we're looking at the fastest TTK guns here, and the Compact 92 is the fastest. And keep in mind, it also has the fastest fire rate. From what I can feel in game, and obviously we'll take a look at fire rates in just a moment. Then we've got the KSV, which is pretty decent as well, and then we've got the C9. So I mean, to be honest, for the most part, the ones with the best TTKs are usually going to be the best guns in general, but people are moving towards the Tanto. I'm really unsure why. Maybe it's the slow fire rate and the damage per mag or whatever, but we'll need to take a further look into that when we comes to each individual weapon and how they perform. But like I said, the fastest TTK options here are the Compact, KSV, and C9 at close range. Then if you look at the damage drop-offs, so not just looking at the immediate 10 meters or so, the Tanto does have the longest damage drop-off, so maybe that's why it's quite a popular gun at the moment, because it gets the best TTKs the gun can perform at the farthest distance of 15 meters. The C9 actually does perform pretty well actually, so I think in terms of range the C9 is actually better, but the Tanto is a little bit easier to control, so that is the trade-off that we do have there. Moving on into some of the other stats before we get into what are like the top 3 SMGs. Fire rate, super important. The compact was the quickest and the Tanto was the slowest. As I mentioned, it did feel like that in game anyway. The compact has like over 1,000 round per minute fire rate, which is absolutely insane and will be very, very popular because of this very reason. And also it's got the best TTK in the game for SMGs. Then we're looking at mag sizes, which aren't too important, so I don't want to talk about that because we've got extended mags on all these. Then we've got reload times, which the slowest reload is the PP19, the fastest is the KSV. Then we've got ADS times, which are important here, and sprint to fires, which I do want to look at. So ADS times, the fastest one is the Jackal. Sprint to fire, the fastest one is the Jackal. So when it comes to sprint to fire and ADS, the Jackal is the quickest, and it could mean it's a solid choice just for movement stats alone, because SMGs do need to have good movement. Then we do have the C9 is pretty decent as well when it comes to movement, and the Tanto is not too bad either. So again, the Tanto's kind of like one of those long range ones where it doesn't have the best TTK, but it does perform relatively well. But the fire rate is obviously the thing that's kind of letting it down here. But again, because the recoil is so low, it could be and is a solid choice at the moment. Bullet velocity is not too important. Movement speeds are pretty much standard across the board, unless we're using attachments here. ADS movement speed, sprint speeds, all the same, and crouch speeds are very, very close as well. The only thing that is not the same is swap speeds, and as you can see here, the Jackal, the KSV, compact, and the Tanto all have very good weapon swap speeds, whereas the C9 doesn't, so maybe that's why the C9 isn't really performing too well here. So when it comes to the top 3 SMGs, the first one I need to talk about is the compact, because it has the best TTKs possible. But not only that, you can make it even better with the rapid fire perk. Now obviously we're getting some cons here with this perk, and this will basically bring your rate of fire up to 1176 rounds per minute. But obviously we're going to be getting a lot of cons when it comes to recoil control, bullet velocity, and as well as damage range. But like I said, you can make this an insanely fast TTK gun. And then we also do have extended mags up to 60 rounds. So obviously by increasing that fire rate, you will be burning through ammo a lot quicker. So you will need the larger mags on there as well. So the compact is definitely a solid choice when it comes to TTKs. When it comes to the balanced, well-rounded option, I do think the Jackal's the better choice here. People are using the Tanto, but I think the Jackal's better than the Tanto. It's got slightly better TTKs. The damage range is not too far off what we get with the Tanto in the first place, and the recoil is so much easier to manage. So people are using the Tanto at the moment, but I do think this is the better weapon. So definitely go and use the Jackal instead if you want the well-rounded kind of mid-range SMG. Then next up, we've got the KSV. I was going to pick the C9 in this category, but I do think the KSV is a little bit better when it comes to movement and handling stats in general. And for that reason, that's why I've went for this one instead. And also it does have a slightly faster TTK. Damage range is not quite as good as the C9. But again, similar to the other weapons, we do have the rapid fire perk, which is going to make this even faster in terms of TTK. So you can definitely do that with the cons to recoil, of course. And we do also have extended mag options to get this up to a maximum capacity of 50 rounds, which would help if we are using any of the rapid fire options here as well. But like I said, those are the top 3 SMGs in the game. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe, and thank you very much for watching.